I'm Sue Taylor, Chief Curator for the New Mexico Museum of Space History, and this edition of Preservation Workshops is called Skulls and Lost Bones. I'm holding up a fake skull here, which of course it is because it has a raven glued to it. I don't have anything like that in my own personal collection. But what this program is going to be about is what to do with those wonderful animal skulls and bones that you find, especially now in the fall when you go out into the woods and things are exposed. Chances are very slight that you will find a human skull, but if you should, we're going to briefly touch upon that as well. Let's get started.
When you think of collecting bones, the first thought that probably comes to mind is what you see at natural history museums. Dinosaurs, like Sue. She is at the Chicago Stanley Field Museum. Very big, very impressive, but not what you are going to find yourself. More likely, you will find small animal skulls, like this beaver skull. When I worked at Navajo State Park in Colorado as the environmental ranger, a group of kids that I had taken on a hike found one just like this. First, let's define the difference between bone and antler or horn. Bone is composed of two parts: organic, a collagen and protein matrix, and mineral, calcium phosphate, which forms a hard outer covering over the collagen and protein matrix. Combined together, these two elements form a composite material that gives bones the desired combination of strength with flexibility. Bones are strong, but deterioration can occur if either of these components is removed. Antlers are bones made of calcium and phosphorus. These tissues grow extremely fast, sometimes as much as a quarter inch daily. Horns are made of modified hair made of keratin instead of bone material. Skeletal collections of vertebrate animals can include a skull like this white-tailed deer skull, or a complete skeleton, which is part of the whole animal, such as of this deer. Collections can include jaw bones. This belonged to a different deer. Or bones such as deer vertebrae. When you are out in the woods or even the desert, this will usually be how you will see skeletal remains. Let's look at what else you might commonly find. This is a raccoon skull. How about a coyote? You might find a western gray squirrel. This is a Townsend chipmunk. Meet a Townsend vole. The last couple skulls are pretty small, so the best way you will find them is if you stumble across something like this. What you are looking at is known as an owl pellet, otherwise owl vomit. Ever watch your cat throw up? Same thing. Here is a collection of the type of bones you can find in an owl pellet. I used to have kids dissect pellets and they would find very similar bones. Let's move on to antlers. As I mentioned earlier, antlers are bones made of calcium and phosphorus. Only male deer have them. They are shed every year after the mating season, usually in the late fall. They're the products of excess nutrition, so the more nutrients a male deer gets, the bigger its antlers can grow. Age and genetics also affect antler growth. You don't have to kill a deer to get its antlers. If you're lucky, you might find a pair of shed elk antlers. Wild sheep and other horn-growing animals never shed their headgear. Horns stay attached and keep growing. The only exception to this are pronghorns, who shed their horn sheaths annually. If you live near the ocean like I did growing up, or visit one every summer, you might have a collection of seahorses. I did. Their skeletons are also bone, but since the likelihood of any of you finding a seahorse in the woods or desert is unlikely, we'll stick to bones and horn. Let's start talking about how to clean the bones you find. Many people like to use ammonia for degreasing. It's a long process and not highly recommended. You could use an enzyme detergent to soak the bones in. But the best degreaser out there is Dawn detergent. If it can remove oil slick from bird feathers, it can remove grease from bone. You'll want to fill a basin with Dawn and water. Put all your bones in there and begin scrubbing gently with an old toothbrush. If, while scrubbing a jawbone, for instance, you have some teeth fall out, just put them aside. Later, you'll be able to glue them back in. After cleaning, empty the bowl and start over with fresh water and Dawn. Let's soak for 24 hours. The next step is to empty the bowl. Get a new bowl and fill with a 50-50 mixture of hydrogen peroxide and water. Make sure that the bones are fully submerged. Cover loosely with a lid and let sit for 24 hours. After 24 hours, check on your bones, and if you are happy with the whiteness, rinse thoroughly and let dry. If you'd like to soak them longer, change out the hydrogen peroxide mixture and check on them in another 24 hours. I've soaked bones up to 48 hours successfully. Keep in mind that they will dry a bit whiter than they look when they are wet. When the bones look good to you and they have thoroughly dried, you can then display them proudly, such as in a case like this. If you have a nice little vampire bat skull, you can display it using an oval display base like you see here. Acid-free boxes like this one can be purchased online from Gaylord Archival. This one has a sliding base so you can remove your find from the shelf and just slide it out to show. They do make larger cases to show off deer or elk skulls or any other large skeletal remains you may have. They also make smaller shadow boxes with glass doors to protect small specimens. Whatever storage container you choose, always make sure to use either polyethylene supports or ethafoam sheets. These will cushion your bones to keep them safe. Bones can be damaged and easily broken. You also want to be sure that wherever you store them, that there is constant temperature control and no UV light. Now on to antlers. Boil the antlers outside, otherwise they will stink up your house. Fill a large cooking pot with water and for best results, a pinch of salt. Salt is important for removing dangerous bacteria from the antlers. Allow it to reach a boil. Once it boils, submerge the entire antler in the cooking pot and allow to boil for 30 minutes. Make sure they are completely submerged, unlike these. Before beginning, test to see if the cooking pot is large enough to fit the antlers inside. All of the antlers should be submerged during boiling. If you don't have any pots large enough, you can try using tongs to force them under water or adjust them periodically during the boiling process. They will soften. After 30 minutes, remove antlers from the boiling water. Keep tongs on hand that you can use to remove the antlers without burning yourself. The antlers will feel soft when you pull them out of the cooking pot, but they will harden up after a few minutes. Allow your antlers to air dry, probably overnight. When dry, get some Dawn detergent, good enough for oily birds' feathers, good enough for a final cleaning of antlers. Use a towel that has been dampened with your Dawn and water. and start scrubbing the antler with the towel. Don't be afraid to use a little force. You want to get as much dirt off as possible. Never use bleach, either on your bones or antlers. That will damage them, causing them to peel. Finish drying with a clean towel. Now that you have clean antlers or horns, you can now proudly display them using shelving such as this. You can even hang them from your ceiling using wire, like we did with these elk antlers for the Star Trek exhibit at the museum. They are holding up the actual spears used in the original Star Trek series episode entitled Galileo 7. If you are out looking for bones or antlers or horn, and you stumble across a human femur, or perhaps a human skull, you need to be aware of NAGPRA. NAGPRA is the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. If you believe you have stumbled across a Native American burial, go to your closest national forest, national park, or museum, and they will help you get in touch with the proper authorities. Either that, or you have found a missing person, and that's a whole other mystery.
I hope you enjoyed this program. It's kind of fun to learn how not only to collect and preserve your finds, but how to display them as well. I'm Sue Taylor, Chief Curator for the New Mexico Museum of Space History, and this was a presentation of preservation workshops, skulls, and lost bones. Sorry, no pirates. We will continue to do more of these. Please feel free to go onto the museum's Facebook page, where you will see, in addition to the preservation workshop videos, those done by education as well as from the archives. We also have our museum YouTube page that you can go to and see other interesting programs as well. Please stay safe, stay home, and stay well. Thank you.